finish him. Kill the guy now. Grab the gun. Hit him.
What? What is this?
Good day, sir.
You are watching Jackie Pan in my house.
No, it's King Kong, sir.
King Kong. You've never heard of ACTV before in your life? ACTV is very educative, informative, and there are football sport there. There is entertainment. There are a lot of things you can even attend lectures here. All you know is watch all those nonsense artists and do nonsense, or you watch nonsense on TV. Last night you almost came in bed with your fist.
It's not me, sir.
And you wake up every morning, the bed will be so rough, like you've been fighting for in your dream. That's the reason why you have F's in your courses, like especially made for you.
I have you last semester.
We £5 on you. Very stupid. Oh, yeah, change that section to ACTV right now. And oh God, the baby wants to have the first born. Stupid boy.
Good day, viewers at home. This is now time for music. We are in the world of music. If you can recollect what we did last week while we were studying musical notes, musical staff, musical clef, so I believe you have been able to gain one or two things from the last class. But I'm still going to give a kind of review of what we have done in the last class. I remember we talked about the definition of music, and I told you that you talk about combination of sound and silence, because you have to combine both sounds and silence in an agreeable manner. So, and that is music. Then those listening to you will be able to enjoy what you are singing. And apart from the definition of music, we discussed about staff being the first thing to know. And it is the platform on which you write music language. And without the staff, you won't be able to interpret your music accurately. And that is one of the ways in which you write music, apart from writing in tonic surfer notation. Staff notation is a very important way of writing music language. And I told you we have 5 lines, 4 spaces for staff. And if you want to do your calculation, before you can give a staff a very good meaning, you have to input a particular clef, and it is the clef that gives that staff the name. We have treble staff, bass staff. Likewise, we have alto and tenor staff. So we have discussed each of these staff. The first one, the first symbol you saw there, I told you it is a treble staff. Why the second symbol you have is known as the bass staff. And the third symbol you have there, I told you they look alike, but the placement of these symbols on the staff are diverse. You have the first one, which is the tenor staff. The tenor staff, because it is attached to the 4th line of the stave. This is your tenor staff. And you have the second one, which is the the alto staff. That alto staff is attached to the 3rd line of the staff, and it gives meaning. You call both of them C clef, and that place where they are attached to is being referred to as a C on the staff. So, and you have the treble staff, the bass staff. So you have formula for divining or for identifying the lines and spaces there, and that is what you have on your screen. So you have the formula for the treble staff, which is E, G, B, D, F, and that is every good boy. Every Every good boy deserves favor. Every good boy deserves favor. So, and that is the formula for the treble stave. So, if you are talking about the bass stave, so I told you that the lines for bass stave is good boy deserve favor always. Good boy deserves favor always. That is the formula for the lines. For the spaces on the treble stave, you have it spells face. It spells face. F-A-C-E. Face. Why the spaces for the bass stave spells A-C-E-G, and you call that one all cow eat grasses. So this formula I told you helps you to remember the lines and spaces very well. So then we have, for today, we are going to discuss musical notes. Musical notes. So if you are talking about musical notes, we have various kind of musical notes so that we use for interpreting our music language on the staff. When you put each of these musical notes on the staff, so they have various meaning. So, and it is the particular position you put them on the staff that gives them the meaning you want to bring out. So, the first note they are being arranged in a sequential manner. The first note written is known as the whole note, while the second note is the half of the first note. Then the next note that follows the second note is the half of the second note, which is the third note. While the fourth note is the half of the third note. That is the arrangement of each of these musical notes. The music notes, so the first one which I told you is known as semibreve. Semibreve is the first music notes that you have. So this semibreve, if you want to count it, it has a particular duration. So it is this duration that gives the interpretation of the sound you are producing. If you want to make a sound, there is a particular duration you must have for that sound. So that semibreve gives you 4 crochet counts. 4 crochet counts, which means if you are to sound a semibreve, so you have to count, you have to sustain your notes till 4 counts, which means you have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What I mean is that if you are sounding do, you have do. So that is your semibreve note. So let me use it for singing in tonic solfa. So you have the first note, which is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So you can see for each of the notes, so you are sustaining. If you have semibreve as the note, so you have to sustain your note, your sound for 4 good counts. That is the value of a semibreve. So semibreve again. So I told you as semibreve consists of 4 crochet counts. 4 crochet counts. So the second note is Minam. Minam has 2 beats, and that 2 beats is also known as crochet beat. So Minam consists of 2 crochet beats. Minam consists of 2 crochet beats. All right. So your Minam is also half to a semibreve. your minim is half to a semibreve. So which means that semibreve, if semibreve is having 4 counts, minim will have 2 counts. So this is the way you sound your minim. So you have your do, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. The first one, which is semibreve, has 1, 2, 3, 4. Minim, which is 2 beats, has 1, 2. So, and minim is half of a semibreve. So then let me sound your tonic surfer by counting the beat of minim for each of the sounds. So you have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So for each of the notes, you have 2 beats, if it is a minim beat. And that is the symbol for a minim note, which is, it looks like a D, figure D. It looks like figure D. And this minim note has 2 characters. This minim note, which is, it has 2 characters. That is, it has an head and a stem. It has head and a stem. So now your minim beat is different from a semibreve beat, because semibreve is only having an head. That is, the circle you have is just an head. So, and minim beat is having an head with a stem. That pole is the stem of the minim beat. So that one will differentiate minim from the next note which we are moving to. So the next note is known as crotchet. Crotchet now has just 1 beat. Crotchet has 1 beat. So that is why we said crotchet is consists of a beat. Crotchet consists of a beat. So if you want to read your notes and you have crotchet on the staff, so all you have to do is counting 1. You move in a step, just a step each for the note. So you have crotchet, that is 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So if you are reading your music, you have a crotchet note, so you have to sustain the note for just a beat. So your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So that is the ascending of your tonic surfer. So you sustain the note, each of the notes, for just one beat, and that interprets the note crotchet that we are talking about. Now, your crotchet beat, let us now analyze the difference between crotchet note and minim note. Crotchet note, I told you minim has a head and what? And a stem. So that head is having unshaded. You can see your note on the screen. You can see the inside there is not shaded. Is not shaded. Why? That of a crotchet. Crotchet note is having a shaded head and a stem. A shaded head and a stem. So the difference between a crotchet note and a minim is that minim has an unshaded head and a stem, but crotchet has a shaded head and a stem. So that is the difference between. So when you see a minim, you will be able to differentiate it from a crotchet. So now you have the next note, which is also half to the crotchet. You know, crotchet is the last note we have just explained now. So that crotchet is just a beat. But quiver is going to be an half beat because it is half of the crotchet. So, and the difference between the quiver is that it has just a shaded head, a stem, and a tail. A shaded head, a stem, and a tail. This is the tail, this is the stem, and this is the head. So the shaded head and a stem and a tail makes the difference between a quiver note and the crochet. What is now the difference? A crochet note doesn't have a tail, but a quiver note has a tail. So that is the difference between the two notes. So now let us count the rhythm of the note. If you have a note, if you have a sound written in quavers, so you have to count in half beat. So if your one beat is 1 1 1 1 1, so your half beat, you can see my one beat sounding. So your half beat, you have to divide this into 2, and it will give you your quiver beat, which is going to be 1 2 1 2. You can see these 2 beats will be inside just a crochet. So you have 1 2 1 2 1. So that is the movement of your quiver note. Quiver note will move. So let us now read tonic solfa in quavers. So you have your tonic solfa, you have your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So you can see how fast a quiver beat is. So quiver beat is faster than a crochet beat. Likewise, crochet beat is faster than Minam beat. And Minam beat is faster than a semibreve beat, which means that as right from the top, so they have larger duration from the top, so to the lower notes. So the next note after your quiver beat, the next note after quiver beat is semi-quiver. Semi-quiver. So you know already, while I was explaining about quiver, and if I'm having a semi-quiver, which means that semi-quiver is half of a quiver. You know, when you are talking about mathematics, if you have a circle or you have a semicircle, so that means there must be a circle. So if you have a semi-quiver, there must be a quiver. And likewise, I told you right from the beginning that you have a semibreve. Semibreve. So I'm still going to talk about that, because a question must come that when you have a semibreve, then where is breve? Where is breve? So there must be a breve too if you have a semibreve. So, and all of this I will explain right at the end of this explanation. So now you have the next note, which is semi-quiver. Semi-quiver, according to the arrangement of the previous note we have discussed, you know that your semi-quiver is now going to be faster than a quiver. It will be faster than a quiver. So now, if your quiver is your one beat, your crochet is 1 1 1 1. Your quiver will be half 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 half. That is the quiver. So you can get the next note, which is the semi-quiver. You are going to divide this rhythm too. You divide it to 2 to have a semi-quiver beat, which is, that is your semi-quiver. 1 2 1 2 1 2 in a quiver. So let us now sing in semi-quavers. Let's run tonic solfa. So you now have your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So that is running your music note in semi-quiver. So you have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. So both ascending and descending. So if you run it up like that, do to do is ascending, and you come from do, you come down to the lower do. That is descending in music. So now the next note, which is Deme semi-quiver. Deme semi-quiver is also faster than a semi-quiver. It's faster than a semi-quiver. So your Deme semi-quiver is, okay, I did not explain that of a semi-quiver. The stem is having a head, a stem, and 2 tails. Your semiquaver is having an head, stem, and 2 tails. So, which means that what is the difference between a semiquaver and a quiver? The difference is that semiquaver is having 2 tails, while a quiver note is having just 1 tail. A quiver note is having just 1 tail. So that is the difference between a semiquaver and a quiver. But the difference between semiquaver and this next note we want to talk about, which is Deme semiquaver. The difference between them is that a Deme semiquaver has 3 tails. 3 tails. So this is your Deme semiquaver. So it has an head, a stem, and 3 tails. So 3 tails makes it to be different from a semiquaver note that has 2 tails. 2 tails. So now let us now sound our tonic surfer. Let's sound it in Deme semiquaver notes. In Deme semiquaver notes. So for example, your semiquaver note is sounding like this. That is the movement for. So I will move from semiquaver to a quiver. Quiver. That is a quiver. Then your crochet. I'm going back again to crochet, which is 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Going back to Minam, which is 2 beat. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. To Semibreve, which is 4 beat, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So your Minam is 1, 2, 1, 2. Your crochet will be, that is 1, 1, 1. Just 1, 1 beat, 1, 1 beat. So why your quiver will be half beat. So you divide 1 beat into 2. 1, 1, which is half, half. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So your semiquaver, from this quiver, we now give you, which is. So now, from this semiquaver, we want to get our Deme semiquaver. So, which is going to be 2 from this movement too. And that is going to be. So now you can see the movement of a Deme semiquaver is faster than a semiquaver. It's faster than a semiquaver. Now, I want to talk about another note. You can see how fast is a Deme semiquaver. So the next note is now faster than Deme semiquaver. So you can see that for us to be able to beat a Deme semiquaver, which it demands we need assistance of a computer to be able to sound it. But if we slow our beat a little bit, so we will be able to clap a Deme semiquaver. But for us to be able to clap the next note, which is known as Emi Deme semiquaver, just put H-E-M-I. Emi Deme semiquaver. I didn't put it here because in most cases we don't usually write the next note, which is Emi Deme semiquaver. But I'm going to stop on Deme semiquaver. Deme semiquaver. The reason why we don't usually talk about Emi Deme semiquaver is because of the fastness of the note. The note is so fast, it demands for a computer to be able to beat the rhythm. So, and that is why we don't usually talk about that rhythm. But we will give it to you that we have an Emi Deme semiquaver. So, which is the last note. Now, I talk about if you have a semibreve. If you have a semibreve, you must have what? You must have a breve. Because if there is a semicircle, there must be a circle. So now, but we don't usually talk about breve because of the duration of the note. The duration of the note is too long. It's too not to the extent that people of nowadays will feel for us to be clapping a brief. That means those who slept could have woken up before we finish clapping the beat of a semi-brief. That's an exaggeration. So, but your brief is having 8 good counts. 8 good counts. So that means you have to, since your semi-brief is having 4 counts, so your brief will have 8 counts, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if we are sounding do, so before we move to re, so let us experience that now. So you have your do, re, mi. I will stop there. So because of our time. So you can see that is the reason why we don't usually talk about brief too. So, and there is a symbol for that now, but it's not part of this explanation. So what we want you to understand is starting from semi-brief to demi, semi, quiver. So, and I've given you each of the counts. So counts for each of the notes. So now we move to the next note. In as much you know how to count each of the notes which I've given to you, starting from semi-brief to the last note, which is demi, semi, quiver. Demi, semi, quiver. So we are going to move from there to what we call dotted note. Dotted note. So dotted note, you have the first one. You can see I told you, I gave you the quality of a semi-brief. The quality of a semi-brief is that it has just an unshaded edge. It has what? An unshaded edge. So it looks like a circle. But you can see the note you are having on your screen is different from a semi-brief. The difference there is the dot. The dot you have there has changed. The dot you have there has changed the meaning of the note. So you can see that this is your dotted semi-brief. Dotted semi-brief is having a dot next to it. This is the dotted semi-brief, and this is the dot. That circle, the first note, the circle with the dot is known as dotted semi-brief. Though it is still the same name which is semi-brief. So only you add dot after semi-brief. That is it makes it to be what? Dotted semi-brief. So, and in a dotted semi-brief, I told you that for a semi-brief to be 4 good crochet counts, that means a semi-brief will also have 2 minim. Minim, as you have 2 minims in a semi-brief. 2 minims in a semi-brief. So if you have 2 minims in a semi-brief, now what is now the value of a dotted semi-brief? So the value of a dotted semi-brief is greater than that of an ordinary semi-brief. So dotted semi-brief will now give you 2 minim plus another minim, making 3 minims. 2 minims plus another minim, making 3 minims. So what is now the value of that dot you have beside the semi-brief? The value of that dot is equal to or equivalent to the value of the half of the note that it comes after. If a dot comes after a semi-brief, that dot is half of that semi-brief, which means that a semi-brief consisting of 2 minim already is having another minim added to it through the dot that you have after it, which means you are going to have 3 minims altogether. So now when you look at your note at the board, I've written there, you have already 3 minims. 3 minims. So the first, you can see this is the first minim, the second minim, and the third minim. So, which means that a semibreve has three different minims. Three minims. I mean 3 counts. 3 minim counts. So, and if you are to sound this, just as you have a semibreve having 4 crochet counts. 4 crochet counts. And you have 2 minim counts in a semibreve. So now you are going to have 3 minim counts in a dotted semibreve. 3 minim counts in a dotted semibreve. So now let me give you this count. In as much you have 3 minim counts, which shows that it's not going to be 4 crochet counts now for a dotted semibreve. It will be what? It will be 6 crochet counts. 6 crochet counts for a dotted semibreve. So dotted semibreve will now give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is the duration or the value of a dotted semibreve. So now from dotted semibreve we move to dotted minim. Dotted minim. So you can see this is the dotted minim. Minim that looks like figure D is having another dot behind it, which is also equal to the half of that minim. So if minim is having 2 crochet, according to our previous explanation, that a minim is having 2 crochets. So a dotted minim will now have 3 crochets. You can see the crochet written at the front of that minim. So this is your minim, your dotted minim, so which is a minim with a dot, having another 3 crochets at the front. You have your 3 crochets, the first one, the second one, and the third one. So, which means that you are going to have 3 good crochet counts in a dotted minim. 3 good crochet counts in a dotted minim. So then let us have this feeling, this count of a dotted minim. So that is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That is for a dotted minim. So if you want to sound in tonics of an ounce, you are going to have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So you have 3, 3 for each of the notes. So different from a minim that has 2, 2 beats, which is just 1, 2, 1, 2. But dotted minim is having 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So, and that is your dotted minim. Now let's move to the next one, which is a dotted crochet. A dotted crochet also is having, in as much your crochet, yes, this is your dotted crochet. Your crochet is having a shaded head, a stem, and a dot. A shaded head, a stem, and a dot. So that is your dotted crochet. So your dotted crochet, if your crochet is having just 1 beat, 1 beat for a crochet, so your dotted crochet is going to have 1.5 beat. 1.5 beat. Already you know that a crochet is 1 beat. And that dot I told you is the half of the note. So that dot you have beside a crochet will now give you half beat added to the value of a crochet. So you are now going to have 1.5. So if this is your 1 beat, 1, 1, 1, 1. First of all, group that 1 beat into 2. That is half, 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 half. So that means you are going to have 3 halves. 3 halves in a dotted crochet. So you have half, half. So that is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. That is the rhythm of an half beat. So you know I'm counting the 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that 3 counts will now be in a dotted crochet. In a dotted crochet. So you are going to have pam, 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 pam. That is the value of a dotted crochet. So you have your 1 beat to be 1, 1, 1, 1. Pa, 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 pa. So your half beat will be pa, 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 ta, 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 ta. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So for dotted minute it will be 1 and a half, 1 and a half, 1 and a half, 1 and a half, 1 and a half. So if you have your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So that is the movement of a dotted crochet. So and you continue in that same manner. So if you want to sound the rest of the notes, you can still have dotted quiver too. You have dotted quiver, you have dotted semi-quiver, you have dotted demi-semi-quiver. So you learn how to clap those rhythms too by coming to the already known beat. If you want to count a dotted note, for example, you want to count a dotted crochet, you know you have to group it into what? Into half beat. So you sound out those three half beats together. So then it will give you a dotted crochet. So if it is a quiver, so that means you are going to have 3 semi-quavers in a quiver. 3 semi-quavers in a quiver. Already you know this is the beat for a semi-quiver. So you have, so that means 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. For a dotted semi-quiver, you are going to have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So you are moving in dotted semi-quiver in that manner. So because of our time, we are going to the next one. Just brief analysis of what we have done in the past. You know, what I gave to you in the previous class was that I showed you a staff. I showed you notes written on the staff and identification of each lines and spaces on the staff. So, but now what I did was that I put each of those notes, I put them on the staff, which is this one you are having now. You can see this is the placement of musical notes on the staff, which is different from ordinary identification. You know, I gave you the identification of lines and spaces on top of each of the lines and the spaces. But now I wrote the identification of each of the notes which you have on the staff. I wrote them under the staff. So, which you can see the first one now. I wrote E. E is under the first note. And the first note, according to the explanation given to you, this is the first note. And that note is a semibreve. That is a semibreve. So, and a semibreve is placed on the first line. A semibreve is placed on line E. And that means that semibreve is now being identified as E. So, if you are to identify that semibreve, so you don't call it semibreve again. What you put there is what? Is E. To identify that semibreve, and that is the position of that semibreve on the line. So the next one, which is G, the next one, which is on the second line. The second line of treble stave, already we know it is G. The second line of treble stave is G. So, and that G is what? That G is a minim. That note which is G is what? Is a minim. So which is different from that of the third note. The third note is on the third line. The third note is on the third line, and the third line is what? Is B. The third line is B. So, and the next note is D, which is also a quiver. The next note is D, and it is a quiver. So, and the last note is F. You know, the last line of the staff is F, and that is a semiquiver. A semiquiver is placed on the. You can see the arrangement of the note, that they are being arranged. That is from the first line, the second line, the third line, the fourth line, and the fifth line. So when you get to the fourth one, the fourth note, which is on the fourth line, you can see the stem of the note coming down. The stem of the note coming down is showing you, okay, this is the note, the fourth note, the stem is coming down. So it's different from this, the third note, which is having the stem going up. So that is the proper arrangement of note on the staff. If your note is above the third line, the stem must come down. The stem must come down. If your note is below the third line of the staff, the stem must go up. If your note is on the third line of the staff, the stem, you are free to put it anyway. The stem can go up and it can come down. So either of the two ways. So you can write your note on the staff. So now we are going to continue from here in the next class. So because I want us to identify notes on the staff by making use of musical notes. So, and that is what we have for today's music theory class. So thank you for listening. Bye for now.
Finish him. Kill the guy now. Grab the gun. Hit him.
What? What is this?
Good day, sir.
You are watching Jackie Pan in my house.
No, it's King Kong, sir.
King Kong. You've never heard of ACTV before in your life? ACTV is very educative, informative, and there are football sport there. There is entertainment. There are a lot of things you can even attend lectures here. All you know is watch all those nonsense artists and do nonsense, or you watch nonsense on TV. Last night you almost came in bed with your fist.
It's not me, sir.
And you wake up every morning, the bed will be so rough, like you've been fighting kung fu in your dream. That's the reason why you have F's in your courses, like especially made for you.
I have it last semester.
We £5 on you. Very stupid though. Yeah, change that section to ACTV right now. And oh God, the baby go to what the first born. Stupid boy.